The MGM Grand felt different that night. Halloween lights outside, tension inside. When Naoya Inoue stepped through the ropes, there was no wasted movement, no excess emotion, just the calm posture of a man who already knew the ending. Across from him stood Jason Mayhem, Moloney, a fighter who had traveled halfway across the world not for survival, but for validation. This wasn't a tune-up. This was a unified world title fight, and Moloney carried himself like someone who believed he belonged. Early on, the atmosphere reflected mutual respect. Gloves touched, instructions were given, and for a brief moment the idea that this could become competitive felt real. Moloney wasn't reckless. He jabbed, he moved, he went to the body. He tried to make Inoue react first. But that's where the story quietly began to turn. Inoue wasn't reacting, he was observing. Every step Moloney took, every rhythm bounce, every jab to the torso was being catalogued. Boxing, the most dangerous opponent isn't the one throwing the hardest punches. It's the one gathering information faster than you realize. By the end of the first round, nothing dramatic had happened on the surface. No knockdowns, no wild exchanges. But underneath, Moloney was already being tested in a way most fighters never experience. Inoue's speed wasn't just physical, it was mental. His jab landed with authority. His counters arrived in the narrow spaces between Moloney's combinations. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Moloney began to hesitate. That hesitation didn't come from fear, it came from confusion. The timing wasn't lining up the way it was supposed to. Inoue's first step erased distance before Moloney could finish a thought. Each exchange ended with Moloney asking himself the same silent question. How did he get there so fast? That question would grow heavier with every passing minute. By the second round, the fight revealed its true shape. Moloney was still throwing, still trying to assert himself, but now every punch carried an invisible tax. Inoue's counters weren't flashy. They were efficient, compact, and perfectly timed. A right hand over the top, a jab to the body, a short uppercut that landed before Moloney's head could move. This is where elite boxing separates itself from courage alone. Moloney had heart, but heart doesn't solve puzzles that reset faster than you can think. Inoue began attacking downstairs with intent. Body shots thudded into Moloney's midsection, not to finish him, but to slow him. Speed drains oxygen. Pressure drains clarity. Moloney's bounce, once rhythmic, became defensive. His feet still moved, but now they were reacting instead of dictating. Each exchange took a little more out of him, not physically at first, but mentally. Inoue's presence grew heavier. He wasn't loading up. He wasn't chasing a knockout. He was walking Moloney down like a man who understood exactly how much time he had. That patience is terrifying in a champion. Moloney landed occasionally, enough to remind everyone that he was skilled, that he belonged at this level, but every success was answered immediately. There was no momentum allowed, no confidence left unchecked. Inoue's combinations came from angles Moloney couldn't pre-plan for. When Moloney jabbed, Inoue countered. When Moloney paused, Inoue advanced. And when Moloney tried to reset, Inoue was already there. The speed differential was becoming undeniable. Not just in punches thrown, but in decisions made. In boxing, half a second is everything. By the end of round 2, Moloney's face told a story his body wouldn't admit yet. Slight swelling, a tightening jaw, the look of a fighter who knows he's being tested in ways the gym can't replicate. Meanwhile, Inoue returned to his corner calm, breathing evenly, eyes focused. The monster wasn't hunting wildly, he was narrowing the cage. Round 3 marked the psychological shift. This is the round where fighters stop asking if they can win and start asking how. Moloney tried to change the equation. He stepped in harder. He dug to the body. He threw combinations with urgency. For a moment it looked like he might force Inoue into something uncomfortable, but discomfort never arrived. Instead, Inoue adjusted instantly. A half step back here, a shoulder roll there. Then a counter, clean, sharp, undeniable. The kind of punch that doesn't knock you down immediately but makes your legs reconsider their loyalty. Inoue's pressure became methodical. He stalked without rushing, cutting off escape routes, forcing Moloney to fight at a pace he couldn't sustain. This wasn't aggression, it was control. Moloney's courage kept him firing, but his shots now carried desperation. Every missed punch was punished. Every entry was timed. Inoue's body work paid dividends. Moloney's reaction slowed just enough for openings to widen. The monster began mixing levels beautifully, upstairs to downstairs, left to right, never repeating the same sequence twice. That unpredictability is where hope dies. Fighters survive patterns. They don't survive chaos disguised as order. By the end of the round, Moloney was no longer bouncing freely. His legs steadied, his stance widened, the universal sign of a fighter bracing for impact. Inoue sensed it. He didn't celebrate it. He simply leaned into it. When the first knockdown came, it wasn't dramatic, it was clinical. A perfectly timed counter caught Moloney mid-thought and sent him to the canvas. The count felt longer than it was. Moloney rose, eyes clear, pride intact. But something fundamental had shifted. He had now felt the full consequence of being half a beat slow. After the knockdown, survival became Moloney's primary language. He fought on instinct, toughness carrying him through exchanges his timing no longer supported. Inoue, on the other hand, looked freer. Confidence settled into his movements. His punches flowed without strain. This is where great champions reveal themselves, not in the moment of dominance, but in how they manage it. Inoue didn't empty the tank. He didn't chase recklessly. He tightened the screws. Every exchange ended with Moloney absorbing something heavy. Hooks wrapped around guards. Uppercuts split the middle. Short right hands landed before Moloney could recover his stance. The crowd felt it. The corner felt it. Moloney felt it most of all, yet he refused to go quietly. He kept throwing, kept trying to carve out space, kept believing that one moment might change everything. That belief is what made this fight compelling, but belief alone can't overcome inevitability. Inoue's body language screamed control. He closed distance in half a second. He exited exchanges untouched. He dictated where the fight took place. By round 6, Moloney's movements were heavier, his reactions delayed. The damage had compounded. Inoue's punches now carried visible effect, snapping heads, buckling knees, forcing resets that never fully came. The monster wasn't angry. He wasn't emotional. He was exact. Each punch served a purpose. Each step forward erased options. The end felt close, not because of chaos, but because of certainty. The finish arrived the way everything else had, on Inoue's terms. Early in round 7, Moloney tried to summon one last push. He stepped in, threw with commitment, and for a split second left himself exposed. That's all it took. A crushing right hand landed clean, detonating against Moloney's balance. He went down hard. This time there was no question. The count felt ceremonial. When Moloney rose, instinct carried him upright, but his body had already surrendered. Inoue closed the distance with chilling efficiency. One final sequence, one final connection, and it was over. Jason Moloney collapsed not from lack of courage, but from overwhelming precision. The referee waved it off. Silence followed, then applause. Inoue stood composed, almost serene. Unified champion, still undefeated, still terrifying. This wasn't just a knockout, it was a lesson in speed, in timing, in how elite fighters dismantle resistance layer by layer. Moloney earned respect that night. He showed heart, toughness, and resolve. But Naoya Inoue showed something rarer, control under violence. When people call him the monster, they aren't talking about savagery. They're talking about inevitability, the kind that doesn't rush, the kind that waits, the kind that ends fights the moment you realize you've already lost. What made this fight linger in people's minds wasn't just the knockout, it was the silence before it. The kind of silence that settles in when everyone in the arena subconsciously understands what's coming, even if the fighter in front of them is still standing. By the time round 7 arrived, Jason Moloney wasn't fighting Naoya Inoue anymore. He was fighting the accumulated consequences of every earlier exchange. The body shots that seemed manageable early now pulled at his breathing. The counters that didn't drop him at first had quietly taken away his timing, and the speed that once felt surprising